In this video, I'm going to go over some additional tips I have for you for your Notan project. First, before cutting out anything, carefully mark the corners of your square. When marking the corners, your square should be in the center of your base paper, and you should hold down that square firmly so it's not shifting when you're marking those corners. Now, since you are going to be referring to these corners throughout your project, you want to make sure that you don't cut anything off from the corners of your square. That means you shouldn't draw anything directly on a corner. Check your drawing before you start cutting. I had a star that was too low. It was on a corner, so I just shifted it up so that now the corner will remain uncut. Next, I want to review with you how to do double and triple cuts. Watch how I start by cutting on the largest line for the circle. This will remove that whole piece, that half of a circle. Now, if I wanted it just to be like this, half a circle, I could do that, but that's kind of boring. For a Notan design, I want to have as much of this back and forth between dark and light as possible. So I'm cutting on my additional lines, and watch how I piece it back and forth. So the largest ring goes out, then the next one goes in, then the next one goes out, and then my final one goes in. Once I have those pieces all cut out, I'll carefully line up my square using my corners that I marked, and then I'll glue them down with my glue stick. Now you can use other kinds of glue. You could use liquid glue if you want to. I find that for this, the glue stick is the easiest, most forgiving kind of glue to just help you get the job done without making a big mess. The next tip I have for you involves what to do when you've drawn just a line. Look here, I have to cut next to my line so that I'm actually able to remove a shape. So that line turns into a thin rectangle. Just remember to cut carefully because every piece you cut needs to be saved. My next tip for you is to wait to remove all of the inside shapes, those are the ones that are not attached to the edge of your square, last. So this star that I'm cutting out right now with an X-Acto knife, I should have done that last, and I'm just doing this to show you why right now. Because when you remove things from the inside part, you don't know exactly where you want to put it. I wouldn't want to glue that star down right now until I'm finished cutting out the other things around it, because those things that are attached to the edge, I need to make sure I get those placed first before I decide where the extra stuff from the center is gonna go. You can see that I'm using an X-Acto knife right now, and I'm using it on a self-healing mat. You can use X-Acto knives anytime you feel like you need to do your best work. I would recommend always starting with scissors, and then if you can't get an area cut out well that way, then move on to trying with the X-Acto knife. My next tip for you is when you're gluing something large like this, start by putting glue on the area of the paper that's closest to your square. That way you can get that part placed so it's right lined up with where your square is going to be, and then you can slowly add glue to glue down all of the other small pieces. Pay attention to what you're doing, because if you notice that you made a mistake, you can fix it even if it's been glued if you catch it quickly before the glue dries. That said, if you catch any resistance when trying to remove a piece of already glued paper, you want to just let it go, because you don't want to tear your paper in the process of trying to make a small adjustment. Those are all of the tips I have for you today. In conclusion, just make sure that you glue down all of the pieces that you cut out each class, so pay attention to time and listen to your teacher's reminders about how much time we have left in class.